Like some of you out there, too many really. I didn't grow up under the most ideal of circumstances. My father was narcissistic, controlling, probably the loneliest person I've ever known in my entire life. To this day, he's never allowed my mother to even meet her only grandchild, who's an adult now, and they've never met my wife either, for that matter. So growing up, I naturally yearned for a strong, positive father figure, and that void was filled by Captain James T. Kirk. As a little kid, I even made my own communicator out of cardboard, and this part was a washer, and underneath that I had a screen to make it look like it was something that you could talk through. And I would sneak off into the woods to communicate with my real dad, who was orbiting the planet in a shuttlecraft looking for me. Yeah, I had the whole backstory in my head and everything. I've met William Shatner a couple of times, and he's always been very kind and gracious.
You didn't tell him, did you?
Of course not. I'm sure he's heard stuff like that his whole life, but I always felt that the death of Kirk in Star Trek Generations was borderline offensive. It lacked the gravity and the impact of Spock's death. And given everything this character has been through, everything he ever accomplished, everything he ever stood for, everything he ever survived in the past, it was almost something of a cheap shot, really. Hollow, empty. These days it might have even been interpreted as a Jake Skywalker-style hero teardown. Well, that oversight has been fixed. Otoy, an Academy Award-winning cloud graphics company, in conjunction with William Shatner and the Nimoy estate, released 765874 Unification, commemorating the 30th anniversary of Star Trek Generations. In just 11 minutes and with no dialogue, they simultaneously brought the real Star Trek back to life and reunited Kirk and Spock at the end of their journeys. It's one of the most beautiful pieces I have ever seen, something that honors the decades of hard work, the love, the sweat, the tears. Star Trek is 60 years old, and it also made me angry. It was a reminder that this is what people who actually care can do when they're allowed the freedom to actually create. Putting all the other IPs that have been abused to the side for a moment, the bulk of Kurtzman Trek is garbage. What the hell is this crap? That's not Star Trek. I've lost count of how many of our beloved IPs have ended up as spackle coating the inside of Hollywood's backed up toilet. But here, in 11 short minutes, Hollywood was shamed into oblivion without even a single word of dialogue. I was moved in a way that I haven't been in a very long time. The clip starts out with Kirk's old friend, Gary Mitchell, once again played by Gary Lockwood. We presumed he had died in the second pilot episode, Where No Man Has Gone Before, but apparently that's not the case, and he's using his godlike powers to reunite Kirk with his best friend before he dies. Kirk finds himself in a beautiful garden and eventually encounters people from his past, including Lieutenant Savick, played once again by Robin Curtis. She introduces him to Yor, a being we know from Star Trek Discovery who can travel both through time and dimensions. Yor returns Kirk's badge that was left on his grave and transports him to a dark hallway, like a world between worlds, where we meet a very young Kirk and a Wrath of Khan era Kirk, the implication seeming to be that Kirk gets to choose how he wants to appear. The choice made, and the choice was always obvious, just as he had chosen to hold on to his pain in Star Trek V because he knew that pain helped build him into the man he had become, he remained his oldest version, the truest, full version of himself. He continues down the hall until he reaches Spock on his deathbed. On the table you see Spock's IDIC pendant and the box that contains a picture of the crew that Zachary Quinto uses in Star Trek Beyond. Kirk takes his friend's hand and they both watch the sunset together for the last time. Seeing something so deeply profound and moving is nothing short of breathtaking, especially when you consider how starved we are for meaningful content. It especially hits different when you know that Shatner and Nimoy weren't talking at the end. Shatner was trying, but the working theory is that Nimoy shut him out because he didn't want his friend to see him like that. We now live in a world of just content, where it's all disposable. We've all watched hundreds, maybe thousands of hours of empty calories. None of it sticks. But these 11 minutes will. Links for this are in the description box below, and I recommend you make space. Don't watch it on a phone, watch it on something bigger, and make sure you won't be interrupted, because this is something truly special. I wish my father and I could have had this same kind of moment. Live long and prosper, cheesebags.